So welcome everybody. It's March 3rd, I think, 2022. I'm Dr. Daniel Four, and this is a talk on parenting and animism and animist ethics and how those two relate to one another. So it's good to have you here. Before I dive right in, I'll say that there'll be time for questions. It will take an hour, and we do have a animist practical animism course that's now open for early registration, and also a free open ritual later this month for the equinox on nourishing parents that me and a few others in the practitioner network, as well as my wife Sarah, will be co-anchoring. So happy for those things coming up. If you enjoy what's happening here, those things are also happening. Me, some of you know me, but let me say a word about where I'm situated. I'm down lineage from early English and German settler colonialist ancestors to North America. I live in Western North Carolina with my wife and our two daughters. And I'm a doctor of psychology, but mostly I'm a ritualist who's trained in different systems. And despite really wanting to be traditional and have one really tidy sense of belonging, is eclectic at the end of the day and is trained in different things. And so it is. So I'm drawing on different systems. And I see myself at least as a kind of down to earth practical person. So I'm also the founder at Ancestral Medicine. We do a lot of ritual and teaching and all that over there. So that's me, basically. As I mentioned, we have two kids. One is 4 and the other one's 1, actually the same birthday. So it's easy to keep track of. And they are lovely, 2 girls, and high energy and demanding and beautiful and all the things. And like double Scorpio on the move. And we, me and Sarah, but this moment, speaking from my experience, have, it's a defining thing to be a parent. I felt ambivalent about it for a while, and then I'm like, oh, let's do that. So then we decided to step in. I'm kind of older than average. I'm in my early 40s, and so it makes me feel tired and old sometimes. But we love the parenting, and it's also a cooker for really seeing if all those spiritual teachings prior to becoming parents actually hold water, if they actually are relevant and applicable. And then also to see how humans form, because I'm a therapist, I'm a doctor of psychology, and my theory that like humans will generally turn out bad if they don't have a lot of support along the way. Parenting is only confirming that suspicion, and that there's a need to really bring a tremendous amount of care and attention to how we're showing up or not with the young ones if we want to set things on track culturally. So I think that's obvious. If you're here, you're probably in agreement with that, but it's on my heart in a daily way. And I'm also, besides being a ritualist, I'm a teacher. And in that way, I'm interested in how people learn things. And I'm fascinated with how children learn things and how it's similar or different than the way adults learn things. And like, we're raising our daughter as our kids bilingual. I speak Spanish pretty well, mostly speaking Spanish with them. And our younger, who's 4, will correct me on stuff. Good for her. And to watch how quickly they pick things up, and it is beautiful. And my just to make a plug, I hadn't intended to put this in here, but a plug for trying, if you can in any way as a parent, to raise your child with any other kind of language, even if you're not that great at it, and to access the resources with it. If you want them to be a really interesting, culturally transformative, witchy change maker when they're bigger, it's a good move because it activates what's called metalinguistic awareness. And you could, look it up on Wikipedia or whatever, but it is like, if you teach a second language, you basically get a third, because you see that the thing that you're naming in 2 different ways is has its own essence that isn't defined by the words. And seeing this by our 4-year-old reflected back, she's like, books, we're going to make books mean something else now. And I'm like, awesome. You're 4 and you understand that words are flexible and you can apply them to different things. I love it. And I think it really supports metacultural awareness, a meta person awareness that allows communication with the land, the rocks, and the idea that our identity is flexible and that our frame of reference is relative. That perspectival shift and the ability to assume the perspective of the other is fundamental to actually getting and embodying an animist or earth honoring ethic. And one sneaky strategic way to do it early on is a second language. So just making a plug for that if you could possibly do it. So let me say before I want to talk through a half dozen different takeaways 5 years into parenting, and then we'll just be in discussion. But before I get into those, I want to say a little bit more about what I mean by animism, which is a way of referring to a value set that basically says living humans are just one kind of person, and that there's all other kinds of people, and we have ethical, relational accountability and moral obligation to try our best to relate well with them. Most of those others are not human. So it's an antidote or a way of interrupting human supremacy, which sounds maybe kind of intellectual and all that, but it's actually the horror that is destroying the beauty and biological diversity on the planet right now. The arrogance and the confusion manifest through humans is the problem. There's no environmental problems, just human behavior problems. And they source from confusion about who we are. And it is one thing to grieve and flail around and be like, it's doom, it's never gonna, we're dying. And yes, and there also needs to be a question of like, well, what do we replace it with? What are the foundations of really generative, lasting culture? And how do we make sure they are being applied in how we raise kids? So that is the ethics of animism as a value set. Doesn't matter if you're really into ritual, doesn't matter if you have a spiritual identity. It's about relationship and decentering human as the apex of, personhood in the universe. Okay. The first takeaway, the first biggest one, if someone were to ask like, well, okay, like I want to raise my kids in a conscious way that's into the earth and all that, how do I do it? The first and maybe obvious thing is you need to model it deeply yourself, because kids mostly learn through watching you. You could say one thing, but they're going to watch what you do. They know like blah, 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 what you say. They'll notice maybe if it lines up with what you do, but they'll mostly notice what you do. And I've seen it in practice again and again. Like the most easy to reach, for example, is being in Nigeria. I've just been 4 times, which isn't that much, but it's enough to get a little bit of a flavor for some of the traditionalist spaces in Yoruba land. And like when I went for my initiation to Ifa in 2013, the kids, like the 6-year-olds, were helping out a lot with me because that was my developmental level in the tradition, and they knew what was needed. So they're like, why would we waste the attention of a 12-year-old, a 40-year-old, or an elder on you when the 6-year-old knows what you need and can come show you what it is? It's like Yoruba Montessori, and they're just like, I'm the 3-year-old, and so the 6-year-old is going to help me. And also, they learned through watching, and I didn't see a lot of, oh, hey, this is the step-by-step thing you need to memorize, that there'll be a quiz on how to do this ritual. You just step in and help. I've seen it in Native American church spaces. I've seen it in other intergenerational ritual spaces that seem to be functioning well, and that are not only like a zendo full of middle-aged people meditating, which is great. It's just not intergenerational. And so the way kids learn is through doing, not through talking about a thing. Usually they might have questions, but they're going to watch you. And that means as an adult, the challenge is to be comfortable enough modeling that it's a really adult thing to talk out loud to the spirits, to pray to the earth, to do whatever. Like I was cleaning out our ritual space and had these woodpecker feathers I've been hanging on to forever. So I'm like, I wanted to let them go to the earth. And so I walked out with Maeve, who's our older, onto the porch, and I was like, oh, well, you make a little prayer for the woodpecker people. And then she sprinkled the feathers. And then a big pileated woodpecker swooped by and started pecking on a tree. And internally I'm like, yeah, it's working. And she was happy, but she's like, obviously we just gave the woodpecker magic and now the woodpecker's here. I'm like, yeah, totally obvious. And so there's a need to physically enact the view and also to normalize it. Like that kind of magic is the most regular, ordinary thing you could imagine. No big deal. And to give them a chance to like physically do the practices, the prayers, the offerings, whatever it is. Because that imprint of physically enacting the thing or speaking actually aloud to the deities will be important. And not just with them. Like ideally they see you making, like you're speaking directly to the trees and they understand, okay, that's what grown-ups do. So my daddy does is talks to trees. Okay, that's what we do. It's normal. There'll be plenty of time for them to be shamed for it by the dominant culture and have to fight for it and keep it alive. Yeah. A second thing is this principle. It's very basic, but it's also very important. Is that every returning ancestor, every returning soul, and I see the kids. They're not kids. They're small, but they're adult souls. They're full beings. Of course, they are demanding little incoherent beings when they first come, and there's you got to wait a minute for them to start talking and stuff, but they're on a soul level, they're like a full person. But when they arrive, we each come to the earth with our own configuration of destiny, and it means we have our own needs, our own distinct needs, which means there is not one. There are some principles we could lay down in terms of how to approach parenting from an earth honoring view. But one of those principles is that different humans are going to need different things. And I'm not saying like someone has a clear developmental difference or a clear like a kind of neurodivergence. Of course, if people have different abilities or different capacities, then we need to meet that well. I'm talking about two people of a similar like, they're similarly well, or they similarly built, so to speak. On a soul level, they're going to need different things. Like our kids look kind of similar. They have the same birthday and they have acutely different temperaments. And not only that, like to concretize it in our tradition with Orisha and Yoruba tradition, often we'll do a life reading, a sentaye, or a Handavifa, Ishefa ritual, which can happen early in life, but it gives specific divinatory insight into the soul level needs of that person. And of course, their divination signature, we call it an Odu in the tradition, is it's different. So they have different needs. Like our younger Isa, in her the divination that came out for her, there's a lot about drumming and being a drummer, drumming, and we noticed like early on she's drumming with like less than one. She's drumming with the drumstick 3 times. She'll switch hands 3 times, switch hands 3 times. Like, what are you doing? And she'll drum on her sister and everything all over the place, drumming. Maeve didn't do that. There are very distinct cues that the young people will give us about what their medicine, their gifts, their destiny are. And I think it's our job as the older humans to track for those and try to meet those specific needs well. It means you can't be on autopilot about this is a good way to parent. Be like, I figured it out with the first one, and now I'm just going to apply all that to the second one if you have more than one kid or whatever. or like you're in a room full of kids because you work with kids, like you understand different people have different needs, right? That is all the way down to a most core soul level. So the addition here is valuing that on a soul level, people have different fundamentally different medicines. And the more we can have a vocabulary for that as adults, learn to recognize it and to meet it well, the better, right? Again, that's also very obvious, but the dominant culture doesn't necessarily, the trend, even on like social media or whatever, is like, oh, here's the progressive way you parent, parentheses, all kids. It's like, well, okay, your really nonlinear parenting style might be awesome for your one kid, and your other kid, like, love equals structure, and there's a different kind of containment that's going to meet them well, like a different parenting style. So that's good to name, and it's rooted in animist ethics insofar as animism, earth honoring spirituality, is really good at recognizing difference. Different people have different needs, right? Okay. A third thing of 6, and then we'll head to discussion, is this is kind of cliche, like it takes a village. Yeah, totally. And I have a ton of empathy, especially after the last 2 years of the pandemic parenting intensive, of how isolating parenting can be in general, and capitalism and all the structures that socioeconomically make it hard to be in community when we're parenting, and finding people with similar settings, because you might connect with parents and then you do different things and then it's harder. But the piece I want to add here is the village, so to speak, or the relational support network, includes the unseen. And I'm speaking first here for parents or for the caregivers, that as a parent, it is wildly unrealistic to expect that you're going to give and give and give and give and give and give and nurture along another human, or humans, plural. My God. I thought we had one. I'm like, it's crazy to have more than one kid. And we had 2. I'm like, that was true. And now it's crazy to have 3. Like 2 is good. So, oh my goodness. And, but it is really important that we as caregivers are nurtured ourselves, including by the ancestors, the earth, the spirits, the powers, your spiritual practice, God, however it is for you, because we need it, for one, and because it's good to model that, for 2, and to show the youngers that what healthy adults do is let themselves be held by even more senior powers, by elders, by the land, by whatever it is. And that can look like they sit when you're doing morning prayers or meditation, and or that like I'll sit with our older sometimes, and before she rests, and I'm like, oh, why don't you call the ancestors to be here? And she always says that they're as soon as she does, it's like they're knocking really intensely on her heart, like they're, and I'm like, well, tell them to back up a little bit. She's like, okay, they backed up. And but I'm saying to her, because she knows that I call on them for myself too, that it's what we do. We need to let ourselves be held. So modeling that, feeling it, and knowing how to access your own elder support, not only the living humans, is important. And it relates to the 4th thing I want to say, which is, and this might seem like a heavy thing to say in a way, but I view it as part of the like moral and ethical responsibility of raising children, if that is part of your life. And of course, we all to different degrees share in that for like the children in a big sense, but I'm talking about a day-to-day physical parenting experience. is part of their responsibility to not just protect and provide for them on a physical and emotional level, but also in the unseen and ritual level. Meaning it's your job as a parent to ritually, spiritually protect your child from the interference of ghosts, from the interference of hazardous spirit things, from the impact of them being around other people who have a lot of unintegrated disturbance in their field, from things that come in through the dream time or like nightmares if you're not tracking that or being responsive to it, from energetic interference, from your own stuff. And sometimes, and it's not enough to just say, well, I'm good, therefore my child's good. Because sometimes hazardous things will skip a generation. Sometimes they'll come in through your partner or through a sideways kind of angle. And if you don't know how to do this thing of the kind of tracking of the unseen or subtle energy or spirit level stuff, that's fine. Assume that nobody else is going to do that for your kids and that it might be relevant to learn how to do it because it's learnable stuff. And there isn't one right way to do it. I'm not saying like, therefore sign up for the protect your kids from witchcraft package for $99, whatever. Like I'm not trying to pitch a certain way of doing it. I'm saying that like adults, kids are beings that exist on a physical and spirit, and they're interdimensional, complicated souls who are incarnate. And they're going to have needs on those levels too that arise. And it's good to know how to respond to them. If they bring those needs, like they had a scary dream or that something happened or they don't feel safe or whatever, and they realize after a few times trying that you're not able to hang, like you don't really know what to do, they'll stop bringing it to you. And that's not the outcome you want. Because what you just did unconsciously, we do it. People have goodwill toward their kids almost always, I hope. And but what happens if it goes like that? It means you just perpetuated a worldview that it's not normal and not okay and not going to be received well to acknowledge our interdimensional reality and that there's unseen and stuff we can't perceive readily, right? We don't want to shut kids down in that way. It doesn't have to look like, hey, you accept the dominant paradigm. It's not how we shut them down. Where they just try to connect about the things they're perceiving and they're not met by it. And then they gradually stop trying. Yeah. So it's possible that a fair amount of that protection kind of stuff can be done with them. Like we made the hand of Fatima, the Khamsa with the hand with the eye in it. It's a common thing in the Mediterranean cultures, etc. But me and Maeve made one like with beans and painted them and had fun with it. And then at the end, I'm like, all right, we're gonna hang it up. Like we could just talismanically hang it on the front door and activate conscience and fear in people, but most people around here don't know what that is. And so we need to pray with this thing. We need to enliven it and actually make it a thing. She's like, okay, well, how do we do it? And so, we did. Like I prayed in some prayers from Quran, and she was praying as well. And I'm like, and I asked her, I'm like, is it good? And you feel like it's, we got it? It's like, okay. So we hung it on the door. It can be a fun, normal thing. It doesn't have to be like, now I'm going to be very serious and protect my family from sorcery. You can, but a lot of it can be fun and with the kids. It's like maintenance. You feed the cats, you feed the shrines, you feed the earth, you feed the protective deities. It's a regular, it's like doing your chores. And your chores include maintaining the energetic hygiene of your life and the home and all that. Normal stuff, right? Two other things. I'm going to pause and give parentheses that it's touching in a way that I hadn't anticipated to feel just now, to realize how I'm succeeding in giving my kids something I didn't get. And it's meaningful to be able to be of modest support to others in doing that. Yeah. Um, a fifth of 6 things is that I think parenting includes, and this is fun actually, but you need to have lived it to know how to speak from it. It includes equipping young people to know how to navigate different realities and different worlds, different dimensions, different states of consciousness, all that. And that can start really young. And it includes being able to shift perspectives, like imaginative play. We're like, okay, you're a bear, I'm a bear, rawr, like that kind of, stuff kids can access so easily. That is the foundation from like when they're 65 and a next level wizard actually changing their physical body into a bear. Like it's the basis from which to shift perspective. It's also the basis from which a lot of empathy gets cultivated, because you're able to understand that, oh, I shouldn't go to war with people because that's actually going to hurt them and their people, and that would not be very nice. And why would I want to do that? Basic stuff that one would hope adults get, but don't always get. And the ability as adults to model it is super important. And being able to show them that there's not just one you, that there are many different kind of voices and perspectives and personalities and sides of you as a person. So you're not only in that, like, I'm your mom and this is how your mom is, and you get this one face, but I hide from you all the other faces. We want to model complexity. They can handle it. I mean, don't frighten them too much and be like, I'm a bear today. I'm like, whoa. So there's a moment for it, but it also means that when they start asking tricky questions that about the other realities, that you play along with them. And like I said to Maeve, I have this whole conversation in Spanish about like whether or not she can feel the earth spinning and how it's spinning, and how we're moving really fast through space. And we were talking about the center of the earth and all that, and she was very into it. And like a month later, she's whispering something to me in a car, and I'm like, what are you saying? She's like, I can feel the earth spinning, I can feel it spinning. I'm like, good. You're listening. And or the we talk openly about how, you've just picked up that rock, did you stop and see if it's okay? And she'd be like, yes, I did, and this rock is excited to come back to the house and all. I'm like, okay. But she'll ask, is a car a person? Is a tire a person? Is a crumb a person? She's like pushing me on the animist front. Be like, okay, you see all these others are people, but how so? And I'm never going to say no to that question, but I'll bring it as like inquiry. It's like, well, okay, what is it a crumb? It's a crumb of like wheat. Is wheat a person? What do you know about wheat? Is wheat having an experience of you when you had your waffles? How is that? Let's notice it. So we're in this open-ended kind of inquiry, right? And I want to see how long I can preserve it with her, the open-endedness, because what she's great at is the sensibility around offerings. Like even traveling in Finland a couple of, she was like 1.5, and she really wanted to offer some of mommy's breast milk to the Gulf of Finland, and she's great. And then she's offering a piece of her banana and breakfast to the sky. And there's the sense of, we need to feed this and offer this. And that sense of exchange and reciprocity, it's the same thing when you have, hopefully, you're a little bit more adult sense of recognition that your individual self is mostly a fiction, and that there's this exchange of consciousness through all the layers and levels, and you don't exist as a separate thing only. Laying the imprint means that later, when she can touch that through her more adult self, it won't be that big of a deal necessarily. It's familiar. There's an imprint that early on, to be able to metabolize how weird everything is and how interdimensional everything is, right? Normal. The last thing I'll say, and then let's invite some discussion, is I see the job of being a parent, part of it, or just someone looking out for the youngers, as like a gradual introduction of poison, and in just the right amount to function as medicine. And it, for really, we're not ready to talk about why humans commit genocide yet. She's 4. It's not time yet. But she'll probably get it earlier than some kids, because that's just my sense of it. But I'll see how, we're not jumping right to that. But for like Issa, who's just 1, we hold her less than we held Maeve, who's the older one. And she's better for it. She does a lot of independent play. Of course, she's very affectionate. We love her. We hold her. And we're not just like, I'm going to come over and pick you up and tell myself a story that you needed that, when that's actually about me. Because that is modeling a kind of subtle boundary overstep rather than reading her energy. I see parents do it a lot. And I don't have like a judgment about it, but we did that with, we were more intervening in Maeve's space. And with the second, we're more hands off. And we're like, oh, that's actually better. She seems even more well-adjusted. Interesting. We were bringing our own story to that. And so that also includes letting the kids feel a certain amount of distress within a range that's manageable. And I'm not going to go into a whole thing about the controversial topic of sleep and all that, but our kids sleep well, and I'm glad for it. And at least for us, it has meant kindly and connectively working that edge of allowing them the chance to get back to sleep, and allowing them to be in a little bit of their process while still being very attentive. And there's something about an early kind of introduction to life is to be able to sit with your own distress. I know a lot of adults who aren't there yet. Another example is letting conflict play out between them. It's hard. Like, I want to just like intervene, and like when Maeve is being terrible to her little sister, and be like, stop it, be friendly and nice, you must. Of course it doesn't work, but it's hard to let it play out, right? But there's also something really important in not intervening with it. And when she encounters something that's painful, or where she's really upset, like at least in our home, we're not like, it's okay, you're okay, you're okay. What we prefer to do is like, oh, you're like, I hear that you're in pain. I'm sorry. I recognize you're hurting. Like, there's a being with and a companioning of her in her state, but not depriving her of that experience, and not trying to trusting in her ability to regulate to a degree. If she's really dysregulated, of course, we'll start to buffer and really step in more. But I see a lot of parents, for understandable reasons, not gift their child with the discomfort. And I think it's delaying a reckoning with life. And as they get older, it also means introducing them to different kinds of complexity. And okay, like, Why are people mean to each other? Why did so and so throw sand in your face? And I was chatting Maeve on the way home from school one day. She's like, "Oh, my friend was crying today." I was like, "Why?" "Oh, that's okay. Yeah." I'm like, "Do you know what they were crying about?" She's like, "Yeah, I threw mulch in their face." I'm like, "Oh my God, why'd you do that?" And it was kind of even keel about it, but I'm like, "Well, that's relevant context to your story. Come on." And but helping them to understand where the little seeds of like tyranny and evil live within them. I think that's our job as parents, to see the evil in the world within our kids and know and equip them to know how to like not act that out, but to know where it lives. Because if they think it doesn't live in them, they're more at risk of acting it out. We've given them an incomplete orientation. Of course, it's got to be age appropriate, bit by bit. So yeah, there's a ton we could say. I don't want to be so didactic. I would love to make space for some questions and just discussion. But how does that land? What are you learning from your own attempt to be a conscious parent and all that? And what does earth honoring sensibilities, by whatever name, what is that bringing to how you're parenting your people? That's an invitation. If you have something you want to share or something that is lit up from what I was speaking to. Yeah, let's see, Bradley and then Susan. Yeah. And just in general, when folks share, if you would, say hi, say where you're from if you want, but then go ahead and go to the heart of it just so others can have a chance to share too.
Yeah, hey, Bradley. I'm currently in Brooklyn on Lenape land. Um, yeah, I really appreciated everything you said. I'm definitely experiencing kind of a spiral time of like reliving my childhood while I'm parenting my son. I think maybe that's amplified by the fact that I'm a male body and he's a male body, but the I hope this isn't too esoteric, but I'm very new to animism. And like you said, children are going to push to find, to challenge us. And so this is a question coming to my mind that I would like to be able to kind of have some framework around with my son. But, if animism is asking us to see all these entities as people, I guess my mind is going to, like your daughter asked, like, is plastic a person? Is nuclear waste a person?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of seems like we're being asked to not necessarily prioritize what in the dominant Western culture we would say is life over non-life. But
Mm-hmm.
then but then I think we do have some sense of like priorities. And so I'm just like wrestling, like, how does the everything matter not collapse into nothing matters sort of
Yeah.
thing?
Um, the way I respond to that question, like in the animism course, and one of the ways that I unpackage it is it's important to not get too intellectual or theoretical, including with the parenting. And it's possible to say, well, I don't know, I'm not sure. And you're thinking, well, what constitutes a person? One of the things is relationality and responsiveness. So we could try to approach and say hello and listen with our heart and see if there's a response. And if there is, well, likely there's some kind of relationality and personhood here. If there isn't a response, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a person, because not all people wish to respond to us. And maybe we don't speak the language. And so, really, is do that's one of the, instead of taking it in the abstract, like, is that rock a person? I could imagine running an inquiry with a 4-year-old, for example, of like, if they're saying, well, I said hello and they didn't say hello back. Well, how do you know? Are you listening with your heart? Or like, how would you know? So then you're questioning reductionist materialist epistemologies and asking them to access other pathways of knowing. you're not going to drop that on them, but that's what you're doing. And so they're like, oh, I do hear it in my heart. Okay, well, what do you hear? And so you're encouraging them to have the clumsy process of attempting to speak the language of another. It's what I love about the language learning so much, is because as an adult language learner as well, to learn a language well, you need to be willing to sound and look foolish, and it's humbling. You need to like speak and not have your eloquence and all that. And the same sensibility applies when you're trying to communicate with the radiation that has been harnessed in the form of nuclear energy, or things that are not, it's not like I'm talking to the squirrels, like it's a magnitude of difference, right? And so we frame it as a shortcoming of vision or imagination if we're not able to enter into dialogue, rather than to say, well, that must not be a real person because they're not communicating with me. I mean, we would never be like, well, people who don't speak English aren't real people because I can't talk to them and I just speak English. Oh my God, what a terrible view. But we do the same thing with the other kinds of people. Yeah. So that, I think it's important to not need to have the answers too as parents. It's more like, well, what happens if we view it in that way? And what happens if we don't view it in that way? Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks, Bradley. Uh, I saw Susan. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this talk. It's very helpful.
Hmm.
I live in Northern California on Wiat land. I am not the primary caregiver, but I am a caregiver for my grandchildren to allow to help my children to work. My children who are in their 40s are very committed to dominant culture values, and are very adamantly opposed to any processes that I bring forward that, of ways of looking at things differently.
Yeah.
One granddaughter in particular who is she is alive with animist values. She's so connected. I'm just wondering if you have anything that could offer some guidance on that. Thank you.
Yeah, I imagine you get this, but like, avoid anything that she or her parents would view as entering into any kind of worldview power struggle. It's like, don't even, like, your holistic earth honoring spirituality includes closed offness as a possible stance, no problem. And then I think there's so much to be said for just being in presence with them, and just holding like heart open and presence. Like I've watched our younger for a while. She was like, she's like, I love everybody but you because you're a boy. Even our cats are girls. I'm like, part of me is like, oh, you hurt my feelings. Come on. And but I'm also like, oh, this is primary narcissism. She's also was like, I like these people because they're white. I'm like, oh my God. So sucks. Woo. Like, how can you, like, no, our child is becoming this thing. And so then we like talk about it, unpackage it, and we've had like conversations about race and all that. And so she's, movement there. And but she's attuned to it. And she started now, because I'll look at her, I'll be like, do you have any idea how much I love you? And she's like, so much. I love you so much too. I'm like, aha, okay. So we got there. It's like a breakthrough. But the ability to just love them like that, that's the foundation upon which anything you might have to say or do could be received, I think, as presence. And to not underestimate the importance of that. And then you just go with dignity about your rhythms. And if that includes harvesting herbs or praying to the earth or making offerings, then they'll notice that and they'll ask, or they won't, or you know, so I think it's modeling it. I gardened in my 20s, but I hadn't thought about it for almost 15 years or something. But as soon as I started doing it, I remembered gardening with my grandparents, because my parents didn't do that. And it was just there. It was like, as soon as I went back to it, I'm like, oh, like there it is. So there might come a time in their life where they go back to it and they're like, oh, my grandma, like, oh, there was actually a lineage of transmission I didn't even realize till now. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks. Uh, Claudia, see? And
Yeah, hello. It's kind of almost it's part of that question, I guess. And it's not so much a question, I guess it's more of a share, really. I mean, I've got two daughters who are almost 7 and 9, also born on the same day, um, and
cheers.
two stepsons who are 21. And I grew up in a fairly conservative household, and we're probably really not that. And my kids went along with that for quite a while. And what I'm noticing now, they go to mainstream school here in the UK. And I really notice their desire to be just like the others. You know, there's a real desire, and they wouldn't, we have a sweat lodge and we have meditations, and I am the parent that I wanted to have when I was
Mm-hmm.
a child, and they would love nothing more probably for me to join up with the other mums and go for a mani pedi and a gin and tonic after work. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite I mean, I can hold that for them. And I think your example of the grandparent and the gardening, that really speaks to that. And I guess that gives me hope that they're 7 and 9. The ship hasn't sailed. There's still a long way to go. But I really recognize that desire for them to really do what all the others are doing,
Yeah.
without understanding. I mean, the others are doing all sorts of things as well.
I think it's useful to wonder, like, what's an indicator of a good outcome with parenting? Like, how would you know you did a good job? Like, I would, there are people who are leading sweat lodges and have all the right crystals on their altar, and who are just terrible people. And there are other people who like have their gin and tonic and do their thing, and they're like, really, like, at the end of the day, they're loving and considerate and ethical and caring people. And I'm not, so I'm not saying that you don't get that, but there's a way in which, don't get too psyched out if the outer identity isn't what you would pick, maybe, but to make sure that the focus is on like the underlying values, and like having really like considerate good values. And I like our kids, she hasn't even seen the movie really. She's into Elsa and Frozen and all that. I'm just like, oh my God, like this, could you say Elsa one more time? And it's not
Better
my
than
thing.
you think.
What's that?
It's probably better than you think. I resisted it for years. It's
No,
not too bad.
no, it's true. I mean, it's kind of witchy and interesting in its own way, but and also like, we're like very sort of like gender neutral, inclusive, and she's like super cisgendered in all the like, spontaneous ways. And it's like, great. Like, if those are your spontaneous settings, awesome. And so, yeah, I guess I'd say is like, in also you could be destabilizing and show up for the gin and tonic and be like, all right, we're gonna do that. And just like, like surprise, like model flexibility in that way. Um, but I wouldn't worry about it so much. Like, the kids need to, I think it probably needs to happen to some degree for them to like tear us down for a little while. And I don't look forward to that, but I'm sure it'll happen. So it sounds like you're doing a great job with things. So yeah, thanks,
Thanks.
Claudia. Yeah. Uh, I'm going to jump around a bit, as is my habit here, to go to Faye and then Tanika. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I am Faye. I am living on Lulu Land in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
So you mentioned community at some point, and it's something that I've noticed with my two younger children, where I became and fell into this role of like the neighborhood mom. So like the other kids are coming to my doors, you know, when
Mhm.
there's like a conflict or like someone is hurt, and I used to push it away and be like, you know, like, see your parents, or why are you here, right?
Right.
And it's a role that I've like fully embodied, and I'm noticing that like now like I'm the only one that has like numbers to the other moms, and there's like this community building between the mothers and the children, like in the neighborhood that we're in. So I guess that my question is kind of, how did we used to do it, you know, back in the time of when, you know, the saying, it takes a village and things like that. Like what did that look like before colonization? Like what is being
Well,
recreated kind of like in my, I guess, yeah.
yeah, good. I mean, nice work on that. It makes me think of a couple things. One, there's a memoir by Toyin Falala. I think he's in University of Austin. He's a Yoruba, probably elder at this point and professor, but his memoir, A Mouth Sweeter Than Salt, of growing up in the 50s in Southwest Nigeria in Yoruba land. And one of the examples he gives is he was, I think 10, 11, 12 years old before it even occurred to him to ask the question, which one of the Iyas, the mothers raising him, was his biological mother. He didn't even know. It was immaterial. Like he asked, somebody gave him an answer, and he's like, oh, whatever. It was underwhelming information. It didn't matter. Say, Omowa. It's just our children. Like when we have, like our Alua, our teacher in Nigeria, when we were just chatting about WhatsApp, and he's like, refers to our kid as Omowa, as like our, it means our child instead of your child. It's like, how's your child doing? How's our child doing? Like I'm not saying things are in some idealized, peaceful way. Everybody, like when I'm in Nigeria, people know whose kids are whose, and they're taking care of their own kids. But there's also a sense of shared responsibility in that way. And it happens through having more than one adult on the move and available. Like and it happens in little ways. Like we're out to eat with a couple we're friends with here, and the dad is stopping our child from just walking down the steps, which she'll do as a 1-year-old. And I start off the evening tracking Issa really closely, and then I notice, okay, he's got it in that moment. The little moments, the little building blocks of trust, where it's like, oh, this person is stopping my child from having a problematic injury by falling down the stairs. I can delegate that 5% of my nervous system tracking to him now. And we make community where we go. I've seen it modeled at times in the Native American church circles, at least, or circles around lodges, where people take each other as a relative. But like there's a language in some circles of speaking, like, hey, relative, how you doing? Like it seems like maybe not a big deal, but it's saying we're family. I'm not sure what the dynamic is. I'm not sure if you're going to parent my kids or I'm going to parent your kids, but we're family. We'll figure out the details. So that ethic of looking out for one another in a really basic way, yeah, um, it happens in the grammar of the language as well. Of like, when do I get to say mija to our other friend's daughter who speaks Spanish? Is that an overstep to say my daughter? So those are the ways in which we show up for each other. The main thing I think is that there's some level of shared understanding about what it means. Because if you get deep into that, like, oh, we're actually forming organic family here, and then there's not clarity about it, people can get kind of chapped or hurt later. But I think it's fantastic modeling for the kids to actually not have this insane amount of pressure on their immediate nuclear family, however that looks, to embody all of the sacred energies in the universe. It's part of the challenge of as they get older as well, is to be like, hey, you got to handle this yourself. You had a bad dream. Why didn't you call any ancestors? You know how to do that. Like, oh, I forgot. Okay. Like, why are you calling me? You can call me, but you need to call them first. So I hope that responds a little bit. Mostly it's like, nice work. You know how it works because you're doing it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Tanika.
Hi. You're good. You're good.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you. I'm calling in from the lands of the Tawakoni, Humanu, Wichita, Kickapoo, and Numanu, in what is now Bedford, Texas. And I had a question as far as like neurodivergent kids go, and kind of expressing and explaining things, you know. It reminded me when you were talking about your daughter and, you know, how she was seeing things black and white. My middle son is autistic, and intellectually disabled and has like a whole lot of other health issues going on. But he's very kind of concrete in his thinking and black and white, and he's still learning. But it's a process, right? Especially like with those social skills. And so, I mean, we try to kind of teach him about like Black history. Sorry, the school bus just got here with him. But he's like, oh, all white people are bad. And I'm like, no, like that's not it. So how would I go about explaining this and teaching these things to him and, you know, my other kids as well? Thank you.
Yeah. It's a big important question. I'm trying to feel into, do I have any particular insight on it? If it takes them a while to, like, people are going to learn and get stuff at their own speed, of course. And there's all kinds of like useful psychological answers and about how to meet someone with different kinds of neurodivergence well. And, you know, that's not my area of expertise, but that's, you know, that's a good body of work, of course. And then what comes to mind is seeing the underlying pattern of nuance that's needed, of like holding like we have these stark categories, right? Like good, bad, and black, white, and all that. And then how do we start to blur that a little? And it might be like, you know what, we're not going to break down the history of white supremacy. We're going to do watercolors because they're messy. And that you actually just practicing messiness as like a skill, and practicing like the sensation level of messiness, and then how things aren't always clear, how it's okay to feel two things at once, how it's okay to be confused and to say things that don't make sense, and to so modeling that is a way of I guess what I'd say is look for the underlying, like if the challenge you're encountering didn't have any words, it was just a shape and like a pattern, how would you work with it? Like, and so, okay, it's a stuck all or nothing pattern. Okay, so maybe the exploration is how much messiness can you tolerate? And then we really get into like how much frustration can you tolerate? And then it's like, how can being able to name that you're feeling it increase the amount of frustration you can tolerate? And then 6 months later, it's like, all white people are bad, but this person isn't bad. And I like this person. Now I'm confused. And then you're like, yeah, now we can have that conversation. Because the amount of like messiness and like confusion can allow for it. I think. I mean, that's my best go at it. If there's anything you want to echo back on, it's welcome. But yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you so very much for that. you know, and it's interesting that you say that, because like my godmom, she's white.
Mhm.
Our family is incredibly diverse and mixed. And so it's just, I think, hard for him to kind of see, but I will definitely work on that, practicing messiness, and being able to hold, you know, two different things or ideas, emotions at the same time, and feeling, you know.
We've had our daughters enjoyed really making the categories of like white, black, brown super confused by noticing 10 different shades of skin. And it's kind of like, well, you know, there's these categories, but then also what's going on is really not in those categories all the time. And so also just it's another way to make that topic messy and interesting. So I'm like, there'll be plenty of time for people to be racialized in the messed up system that we're born into. So yeah, give them some chance to be messy, I think. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Janessa, I know we're at time. So I should say actually, get involved if you want. We have a whole course on animism and a ritual for parents, and a whole nother series that I'm announcing next week on the life stages and ritual arts and all that. That's the plug for the things. And I'm going to keep taking a few questions because I enjoyed the time. And if you need to roll out, of course, we're at the hour. I appreciate you all being here and appreciate your time. But I saw Janessa had a question, and then Sivan, let's try it like that.
Hi, I'm coming from the lands of the Hulkaminam speaking people. And my question is about, you know, I have 2 children. We strive to raise them with animist values. We talk a lot about things like grandmother moon, grandfather sun. When my daughter, my eldest, started school, I noticed her coming home, an institutional government funded school, coming home and not using that language anymore. And when I pushed as to what was going on, well, at school we learned that the moon isn't alive. It's this rock up in the sky, and the sun isn't a grandfather. It's a, you know, and then this very scientific explanation. And that's been something that we've been reckoning with, and we don't know how to, you know, hold both those things, because they're both true, but it seems like what she's learning at school is that rejection of the aliveness of the world, and science is really pulling that magic out of it. And so I was wondering if you've encountered similar things, or what you could suggest in response to that.
Colonialism, just a gift that keeps on giving. And some. Our older goes to Montessori, and I don't know, we're not able to do homeschooling, but we're looking at different options. But the way I think of it, because there's no way around it, they need to speak the language of the dominant culture. It just needs to be not their only language. And so the way I think of it as someone who's raising the kids bilingual is, you're like, oh, you notice that they speak a different dialect at school. Yeah, you notice that they have a different way of talking about it. And so to frame it as another language, really, or like it's a cultural difference. So you could frame it as another culture in a way, but and then affirm their ability to be bicultural. I love it. One of my happiest moments as a parent is watching our child code switch socially in Spanish and English, and to like speak Spanish to the people she knows speak Spanish, and then English to the people she knows, and then mix it up a little. I'm like, yes, because you're going to need that, and you're going to need it to navigate the complexities. Because I'd be happy, like maybe she wants to study medicine. She's going to need to really know how to dial in some reductionistic formulaic language. And she can still see the living soul breathing through the heart, even if she's doing heart surgery or something. And so how do you hold both? That's a skill I would go for in that instance. And like the person shared earlier, Claudia, I think the need to belong is really intense. And so there's no way you're going to get, it's not realistic that they're going to be like, no, it's grandmother moon, I talked to her. And the teacher's like, sit down. You know, they hopefully they wouldn't say that, but you know, it's not reasonable that they're not going to want to fit in, but they can do what a lot of indigenous and other earth honoring people have been doing for a long time, is like sit there quietly and know what they know and recognize that somebody's speaking a different language, and that's okay. That's just how they speak, because they don't know that the moon's also alive. So you also teach them how to keep a secret within their own heart as a form of resilience, so they know when it works to be open about a more full world and when it doesn't. And if you find yourself like, whoa, I'm teaching my child how to navigate a culturally unwelcoming world, well, yeah, you and hundreds of millions of other people, yeah. And then at that there's a sadness and a pain in that. And being multilingual, multicultural is the way to go, I think, because you're not going to shut down. You don't have enough influence to shut down the dominant story. You just have to inoculate it regularly, and ideally help the kids to have contact with people that they look up to who speak the other language, who actually are like, oh, then we go hang out with some other adult who talk to grandmother moon. And that's just what adults do when they're not busy at school indoctrinating the kids. Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks, empathy, for that. Savan?
Hi. I can't. My video isn't working, so I can't see you, but I can hear.
I can see you, and you can. You're coming through clear. So go for
All
it.
right.
Yeah.
Not so much a question, just to share that. So I have a 12-year-old step kid and a 2-year-old little kiddo. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the practice of being a parent is learning to be with, and not just being a parent, I think just being a human and being a being that's in relationship with absolutely everything like around us.
Right.
What this, or how it came up for me the first time in a really, really visceral way, is my 2-year-old Caspian was maybe at a year old, was crying inconsolably for like over an hour. And I found myself getting really triggered. And I've come to notice that when I'm triggered, it often means that there's something in me that's being reflected and that I need to sit with and be with. So I was triggered and feeling frustrated and panicking and being like, oh my God, something's wrong. Or like, why can't I console him? Is there something wrong with me? And then I realized like, oh no, I just have to be with him in this feeling, to reflect to him that it's okay to have this feeling, instead of trying to fix it or correct it or avoid it or get rid of it.
Right.
And just sitting with him for over an hour, he would cry and cry and cry, and then come and sit on my lap, and then would push me away, but I would just be there with him. Sometimes I would leave the room, come back in and check, and then eventually he stopped crying, and then he started like wiggling and shaking, which I interpreted as processing, like somatically processing.
Right.
And that was a really, really massively important lesson for parenting, but also just my life, in that a lot of it has to do with being with and attention versus reaction. So the way that I my children, is it based in being truly attentive, paying attention to what's happening right now and being present, and then acting, or is it a reaction based on a conditioned belief or a thought or a personal trigger?
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, it's great. It's really clear what you're expressing. And I mean, for my own experience, like, man, when it's like, when you really haven't slept in like the earliest part, assuming your kids, are old enough to sleep a little more consistently, but in the earliest time when they're least likely to sleep well, and you're just really underslept and they're not getting to sleep, and they're really not, and you really can't get them to sleep. Oh man, like there's nothing quite like it. And it's like I'll do another week-long Zen retreat. I don't care if my back is on fire. That's way easier to just sit or do whatever. Like I'll take the spiritual practice. I don't care what it is. Make the lodge really hot. Anything but the powerlessness of not being able to console the small person I care about.
Yeah.
And it's very humbling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then that into like how to be with both caring and loving for someone, or even just like all our relatives all over the world, and not being able to take away their suffering. And I think in that is like a compassion of maintaining our calm or equilibrium, but also being with the suffering of someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it like that. It's definitely the case, I think, that we get to like comb over really uncomfortably sometimes every part of our life where our kids are at. So like, especially with the older one, if you're like, oh, now my older is 4, and now we're suddenly having whatever happened. So what was happening for me at that age? Like, what's my own? So there's a way in which we can use that sort of common truth, I guess, that we review our life along with our kids as they develop, to be curious, is there some part of me at this age that also, like, I also need to be holding my 2-year-old, like my ancestors hold my 2-year-old, or they hold me while I hold my 2-year-old, while I'm holding my actual literal 2-year-old, and holy shit, like we're holding it together, and but that just recognition that we're all those things too, and that we're going to get lit up, get like so frustrated, like with like, or kid like hits you in the face or something. Our daughter is occasionally like, she'll just like, oh, I'm just gonna smack you in the face. I'm like, it like having had adults hit me in the face and just wanting to crush them, I'm like, the first response is like, crush the thing hitting you in the face. It's like, oh no, don't do that. That's your child, and that's not going to play out well. And so there's a way in which we're sometimes internalize this whole trust your body, do what your first instinct is on things. And with parenting, it's often like, no, don't actually do what your first instinct is on a whole handful of important things. Move very slowly and know that you're full of reactions. And most of them are not going to help you. So that's humbling too. Yeah, thanks. We'll finish up pretty soon. I know we're at time, but let me see, maybe one other, Sarah. So you had a hand up, and then we'll leave out. Yeah.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to come at this with a bit of a story of an older child. She's 16. She had a birthday on Monday. And I'm actually working with one of your practitioners here in Canada. It's been amazing, so helpful. So the pandemic really took our daughter down, and she just already had some OCD and anxiety, but was completely taken out in the past 12 months. And so she's in a mental hospital, and it's really tough times for us. And
Sorry.
First thing is to just say that the most amazing amount of help we're getting, in fact, is from one of your practitioners. My husband and I, he was not so sure he wanted to try it, and he's diving in, like he's meeting his ancestors, and he's finding things in there. And so the part that's really hard is we've always had a spiritual place with our daughter. We would go to ashrams together, and she was the most grounded individual when we would spend a week at an ashram in community, singing and all of that. And I have intergenerational trauma from the Holocaust. My mom survived the Holocaust as a young child. And I truly have felt taken over by spirits, evil spirits over my lifetime. And I tried really hard to not have that happen to her. And I hadn't talked to her openly about that, but the really amazing thing is that when she really tipped into kind of a psychosis and an inability to sleep or eat last summer, she suddenly started drawing the Star of David like all over her arms, all over the walls, anywhere she could. And she started saying that her biggest fear was that she was a murderer. What if she was a murderer? And that came out of nowhere. So I'm trying to work with one of your amazing practitioners. And I guess my question is like, well, I don't know if it's a question and it can't really be answered in this little moment, but, you know, I'm getting so much assistance and grounding from it because with her being in a mental hospital, she is almost sort of the depression that's now enveloping her by being in a space that's so non-healing, like it's so clinical and it's all about the meds, which are not working for her at all, you know, to calm her down. So we're trying to hold a space for her at home. And do you think that's like, it doesn't feel enough, but it's all like, you know?
Yeah, nothing's going to feel like enough in the situation you're describing. It's super
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. So a couple things. One, making sure personally and with your partner that your lineages that precede her are in a healed condition, and that there are none among your lineages who are in a troubled state or impacting her. The practitioner training includes being able to modify the step of the assessment to ask them, are any of your lineages or any of, I think you said your husband's lineages, adversely impacting your daughter?
I
And
really
if so,
believe they are. Yeah.
then that can be the focus of whatever session you do next and handle next. Like you,
Yeah.
I would say not only is there an opportunity, but there's a responsibility to disentangle any from your lineages from her space. That doesn't mean it's automatically going to be, you know, amazing or whatever, but to do that disentanglement and hold the vision that she is full with her own soul energy and essence and protected and in the clearest space possible. And that's the short-term fix. The longer term fix is making sure that the lineages are in a new, healed, vibrant condition, that your ancestors are actively protecting and resourcing her and blessing her. And that comes, you know, bit by bit as the repairs are made. So that is all within reach and totally doable by you and your partner, no matter how things unfold.
Okay. Thank you.
Additionally, there's just, I'm sure you get this, but one of the most meaningful poems for me growing up is Allen Ginsberg, Howl. And in the poem, as he's writing about his friend who's institutionalized. And one of the lines in the middle of the quite long poem is something like, Carl, where you are not safe, I'm not safe. And he's just affirming this basic like bodhisattva ethic of like, I'm not going to leave you. Like maybe you're not able to sleep there at night. You have to still function your life and all that. But it's like saying, even though you might feel alone, I haven't abandoned you.
Yeah.
Like I'm holding you in my heart the entire time.
Yeah. When she calls me in the day, she's like, why aren't you here? You know, and COVID restricted us and then all of that. But yeah, so she knows though, if I tell her, you know, picture me hugging you, she can do it. And for the first time last night, she sang one of the ashram songs with me. She's been unwilling to touch anything spiritual for the last 12 months. So I have great hope that that will bring her more grounding, as just lightly bring back in those things she knows.
You just keep keeping the light on, cleaning things up ancestrally, seeing her in her wellness and healed state. And I'm not saying that's all you can do, but those are important things to do. And if it's part of your approach and it feels right, there are people who do good sort of intuitive healing type work that could be a complement to what's happening. But yeah,
Would I reach out to your organization for more?
you can, yeah, you can send a, yeah, you can.
Okay.
I don't want to get like 100 of those emails, but I just said it on a recording, so it's fine. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Great.
it's not a kind of service I offer, but I know people would probably do a good job with it. So
Okay.
thank you, Sarah. And
Thank you.
thanks everybody for your presence. And it's a gift to me to get to talk about this. I'm usually talking about the dead and all that, and just it's what I've been living. It's what we're living here. So and it yeah, I feel nourished by the time. So thank you, and hope that you stay in touch or maybe join something we're up to. Thanks everybody.